One of the main questions asked by humans throughout as long as I can remember, probably aging way back before, is the question that we all ask ourselves, at least at one point in our lives, which is what is the reason? Why are we here in this world? Why are we here living? Why are we here experiencing all of that? What is the meaning of life? What purpose does this life that we live in have? There is a big epidemic of meaning in this world. Many young people are trying to find the meaning, the reason for why they're doing all those things. You go to school, go through all those exams, you go to university, you have to work, and it's like a non-stop work and work and work. And why are you doing all of that? Why are you going through all this suffering, all these problems in the world where you have death, you have hunger, you have so many people suffering all over the world? Why do we have to experience that? And as I said before, many people go through this part of life at least once that which in which they ask, why are we here? So today, in this discussion, we're going to be having a small debate with four distinct university students who do psychology. We're going to try to break down this question of what is the meaning of life? What is the purpose of everything that is in this world here? And the ultimate goal of this discussion of this podcast of today will be to find an answer, which you can argue that this answer has never been found really by anyone, but we'll do our best to think, to use logic, to use emotions, to use everything we have in our knowledges, share all of this, put four minds together to try to find an answer to this problem. So let's start with Neil.
You want me to talk about what I think the meaning of life is?
Yes, go for it, Neil. If you want to introduce yourself a bit, go for it.
Yeah, I'm Neil. Yeah, I study psychology here. I'm 23. I'm from Slovenia. I used to be a basketball player, and I love psychology. This is why I'm studying it. But in terms of meaning of life, yeah, I definitely was thinking about this a lot when I was younger. And my realization was that there is not like an archetypal meaning in terms of that we all have the same type of meaning. I think that by itself, life doesn't have a meaning. But as soon as you put a certain perception on your existence or on your life, that perception by itself is going to uh, give you some type of a meaning. So I think like in school, you can depends on what your personality and values are. You can have different meaning in school, different meaning in family, with friends, with health, with whatever. But if we just look the life from the most outside, just existence itself, I think it's only the present moment and it's only happening. Um, and I like one philosopher said one time, I forgot the name, that life shouldn't be something, or existence isn't something that should be understood, but something that should be experienced. So in that way, I think that meaning kind of in a way equals freedom and creativity. So you can, as an artist, create what your life truly is, or what you want it to be, or where you want to go.
I can hear you, Tonton.
Okay.
Yeah.
My bad, guys. I was muted. Neil, would you say your philosophy is kind of it builds up upon the ideas of existentialism a bit?
No,
Because
not really. You know,
existentialism is the idea that you build life has no inherent meaning, that you build like not it has meaning, and the meaning is individual. Each of us have their own meanings in our lives. That's kind of the main idea of existentialism, if I'm not wrong.
well, there is one thing in existentialism that doesn't make me feel satisfied, which is it focuses a lot on the future because existentialism kind of worries about death in a way that before you die, you should make your life meaningful. Um, and then there's a paradox where we chase money and chase stuff and status and everything all our childhood and until we are 40 or 50. And then when we are 60, we realize that the meaning of life was the whole path to being 50 or 60. You wasted your whole childhood, chasing something that you thought is going to bring you an answer or meaning. And for me, I prefer Eastern type of worldview where there is no future and the past, and it's only the present. Um, and there's not so much anxiety in terms of will my life be enough, because you don't really equate it with status or materialism or any type of thing like that. That's like an asset.
So it's more like just the journey as the meaning of everything, just living it.
Yes, and I think that meaning. The thing about meaning is that it changes. I think this is what Piaget was talking about a lot. Um, Through how knowledge as a process changes through life. I think that when you grow and you are part of new systems and you have new experiences, you can see deeper within yourself what meaning really is to you, or in what form does it occur in a certain context.
Okay. Okay. That's great, Neil. Thank you very much for your brief introduction. Let's go to Nikas now. Nikas, if you would like to present yourself a bit.
Hi, I'm Nikas. I am a Lithuanian psychology student, same as my colleagues. I guess I should get right into it because there's no point in going in depth uh, about my life. We're here to discuss philosophy, right? So I guess mine would be the sort of precursor to existentialism that is Nietzschean philosophy. So before Camus and other existentialists developed existentialism, there was Nietzsche who argued for the creation of new sort of values as an antidote to nihilism or the complete lack of meaning. Uh, the main ideas are, in my opinion, based on books of his that I've read, are overcoming oneself and the construction of meaning and imposing a value onto a chaotic universe. So, on this last point, he agrees with the later existentialists about there being no inherent meaning in the chaotic universe, but about us being able to construct um, our sort of meaning. But Nietzsche differs in that he focuses more so on what he calls the will to power, which is kind of an abstract poetic term, but really what it means, in my opinion, is coming back to that first point, overcoming oneself, and what I'd like to call the self-contained potential actualization. So, how I like to view meaning in my life is that first and foremost, I'm the one who constructs that meaning, and then I'm the one who strives toward attaining certain goals in service of that meaning. And then I know that I have a certain potential that I can actualize, and the actualization of that potential brings me self-fulfillment. That would be what I have to say.
So to contrast your idea with Neil's idea, for example, is that Neil sees the journey and the doing, the living life as the meaning itself, and you would be more we construct our own meaning, we derive our own meaning from life, and this may it's mostly focused on self-actualization, right? Overcoming challenges of life and bringing order to chaos.
Uh, yes, and it's important to stress that uh, the actualization is self-contained. It need not be relative to other individuals' system of values.
It's a very individual way, not connecting to the like other people, right?
Not necessarily, yes. And I'm not advocating for, how should I say this kind of misanthropic view of life. It's just that I think that life is better lived that way.
Okay, thank you very much, Nicholas. Let's go to Maxime now. If you want to do an introduction, everything, go
Yeah.
for it.
Yeah. Hi, my name is Maxime. I'm 21 years old, and I spent most of my life in Switzerland before moving here. Like also studied psychology like the others, and yeah, I find myself also like agreeing with a lot of what you guys already said. Um, I do have to say that what struck me is that it's a lot quite individual what you guys said. Like I think there should be more focus on the whole, on connection, on other humans as well, on nature as a whole. And well, what I find meaning in as well is creativity and creation. I think you guys also mentioned those terms, and I think that's a common theme that we gain purpose and meaning in doing stuff, not just being. Even though I definitely also agree, like being in the moment, being present is well, the right thing to do. It's however, I do also like to keep keep the future in mind and have goals in mind and work towards these things and not just be in the present. Like you also said, Neil, like you can't just be in the present the whole time. Um, yeah, I like creating. I like discovering the world. I like growing. I like evolving. And yeah, I'm not sure if there is inherent meaning. I don't think nobody really knows. Um, I mean, we could argue that there's like the biological meaning of like reproducing and protecting one's kin and evolving, whatever. But I think really from a human standpoint, or when looking, I mean, I just have to say that it can be a lot of different things.
So you think that there's no meaning it, per se, but do you think we build our own meaning, or it's just that there's no meaning and it's just about experiencing life?
I do think when we are born, we are well born into something that has already existed, and there are certain I say things that are demanded of you, that nature demands of you, that you have to fulfill, and they're. I mean, when you really listen to yourself, when you are present, when you do reflect, you do find things that you that you yourself or nature or God tells you what to do. So there is some direction that you can follow, but there's not one like one answer, obviously.
The very like you have many paths that you can follow, and then just go with life, finding yourself and discovering things.
Sure, if you listen enough and reflect enough, you will find something that is worth it, and that you could say is your purpose
Listen enough and reflect enough about yourself.
by yourself and the world, and I guess having the courage as well to go and do it. Then
Okay, so there's an aspect of courage also in that.
sure, yeah.
All
Yeah.
right. Anything you want to add, Maxime?
Mm, yeah, I mean, I just want to stress again this more focus on the whole and not just about humans and about the ego and things. I mean, Neil and both also said it that it should be kind of like notice the ego and not try to be guided by it, but also I think we should also listen to nature more and include everything, not just what humans want and needs.
In your opinion, I have a bit of a spicy question. What does
Okay.
listening to nature add to one's life exactly with regard to meaning, or in your
What
experience?
listening to nature adds?
Yes, yes. What does that add to one's life?
Well, you are part of nature, and in listening to nature, what nature demands, you are helping yourself, because if you hurt something else, if you hurt nature, if you hurt somebody else, you're hurting yourself. So if you listen to what nature demands, you are doing that in your favor as well.
Let's make this more maybe concrete. Imagine
Sure.
I was in a personal crisis of meaning, let's say. As Danton said, a lot of people nowadays, they have this kind of crisis of meaning, they're searching. Right. And so I don't know what to do with my life. You would advise one to go for a walk, let's say.
Sure, yeah, that's a
I
good
don't
idea.
want to be, reductionist about it, but you go for a walk and you sit on a bench in the park and you listen to nature, and then listening to nature might help one find that meaning. Is that what you're saying?
Mm, well, through going out into the world, even if it's a walk in nature or in wherever you are, and could also be like in city, in a crowded place or whatever. If you really listen, and if you are not trapped in your own thoughts, then you do see certain things that you do see directions you could go in, and so sure, if you listen enough, then something might reveal itself. Yeah.
Thank you.
You're
Listening
welcome.
to nature.
Listening to nature.
I think like though we abstracted as humans both that and nature to like have abstraction of birth and death of self, and also just like going on a walk, you can also meditate and go into the human nature, into your emotions and introspections, the way you said.
Sure. I mean, nature is a really broad term. You could say nature is everything.
Yeah.
I also, like, before we started recording, I also tried to define it a bit, and you had a few definitions, and also this contrast between more of the Western view, which says that humans are different from it and above it, and then more Eastern and Chinese, that you are part of it and humans aren't in the focus of it, right?
I think that in the West we aren't really taught to trust human nature. When Freud was talking about it, it was like, well, it is something dangerous, so you have
Sure, yeah.
that's keeping it intact. But another thing that Freud also said is not that it should be, whipped because it can be mistrusted and because it's disrespectful, but that it should be given little bits of sugar, just like if it was a horse, and then you can kind of find a way and put this nature into some type of a meaning. How, in what way are you going to handle either outside nature or inside nature in terms of all the desires and challenges and problems that occur?
Great. Okay. I'm gonna then do my introduction. Hello everyone, I'm the owner of this channel. My name is Danton. I'm a psychology student, also like all of them. I am 18 years old, a Brazilian guy. I guess I'm the youngest one here, right? Probably. Or Nikas? Okay, yeah.
I'm
All right.
19.
All right. Okay, so my philosophy, I think I'm just gonna tell a story which is gonna help explain kind of everything. I was born and raised Christian. I was Catholic. I was baptized. Did my first communion when I was 12, and all that. And my parents were always very open about religion. So in my family, my grandma is a Buddhist. My mom believes, like, she likes Buddhism a lot, and but she's kind of Catholic. My dad is like a Christian, but he believes in spirits. And my my aunt is like a Mormon. So I have all different religions in my family. So I was very open regarding that. So, but I was always Catholic guy. Then, 2 years ago, no, 1 year ago, after I was always this Christian who never really read his Bible, said I was Christian and all that, but never really was practicing the religion. 1 year ago, after I had a kind of like a low point in my life because of a lot of stress, a lot of struggles, I kind of found God again, but in a way stronger way. So I started reading the Bible. I started going more into actually practicing and living the religion. And so there has been 1 year basically since that. That was in April last year. But since I joined this uni, one thing that struck me a lot was that how everything seems so much the same over your whole life. So you go through life, and then when you're young, you're always looking at the future. You're always looking at something that you're gonna get in the future. So when you're young, you want to be old. And then when you're in school, you want to be in high school. When you're in high school, you want to be in uni. When you're in uni, you want to be working or doing your master's. You're always looking forward, looking towards something. And then when I was studying uni, I feel like this past year has been probably the hardest year for me in terms of finding the truth, because it felt very difficult to grasp something that made sense. So the reason why I'm doing this discussion here, why I organize this, is because I really want to see what are your guys' ideas on that, because I struggled a lot to find the meaning of all of this. You'd go through life without an actual goal of where we would end at. And after a lot of search, a lot of reading the Bible and many books, I ended up just getting to the point where I felt like some months ago, I felt like life was completely meaningless in a very nihilistic way. And then that was like a very, very low point for me because I felt like nothing made sense. And I know that nihilism is this philosophy that, okay, some people believe in that, but I feel like being a nihilist is one of the such a sad thing because you just don't have motivation to live. And then after really studying more the Bible, I got to the point where I genuinely think that the purpose of this life, the purpose of our existence and our living is giving ourselves to God and giving all our hearts, giving all everything we have to like Jesus, all basing all our energies to that. It doesn't mean that you have to be a priest, but you have to live in accordance to that, because that is the ultimate hope that you're gonna go to heaven or something. And it seems very contradictory because I was always saying how we're always looking at the future and the hope that you're gonna be better. But I think when you live that way, when you live with your heart inclined towards something such as God, you it allows you to focus more on the good things of life and be more present also. So in terms of after I found that, when I can give myself, when I can say like, yeah, I am on the hands of someone else. I don't have to worry about me starving or whatever because I'm already saved. I'm already going to heaven if I believe in Jesus and have my faith in Jesus and all that. If I believe in that, I can live a way more present life, a life that is way more aligned with my goals, because it always breaks away that that chain with society that you have to be successful, that you have to be materialistic, that you have to be all of that. Because then, if you look at it, everyone's gonna die. Nothing will continue in this world. So the only thing that really matters is that you live a life that is directed towards God. And if you do that, you can go for your aspirations as long as it's not something bad that you're doing bad things towards other people. So yeah, that is ultimately my answer that I found for the meaning of life, and it goes way deeper into spirituality because it seems like something very future based, but it has a lot of, if the connection you have with God on the present moment really fulfills a lot of the holes you have when it comes to hoping for better things in the future. It's very spiritual, so it's very hard to explain with logic, but it's really linked also to some parts of like what Neil told me about being present and all that.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
When you said that you were, thinking about what truth is, why did you want to know the truth, and about what, for example, did you want to know the truth about that it made you think about these things?
Because if you look at things from on the grand scheme of everything, we're all going to die. Everything that happened in history kind of repeats itself. Everyone that does a big thing kind of gets forgotten over time, no matter how big you were, no matter what you did. Everything just ends. The human the human biology, not biology, but the human condition, the human nature is a nature that is never fulfilled really with ourselves. We always There's always chaos inside us. We always want something else. Us humans, we can have moments of fulfillment, but we're never ultimately fulfilled. You're never in your whole life going to wake up every day and say, "Oh, I am so fulfilled today." That's never gonna happen because you're always gonna have comparisons with other people and goals you want to attain. The human condition is a condition of suffering and striving, and it's also very related to the idea of overcoming oneself. So that's why I was in this search to know why, why should we suffer so much? Why should we want to overcome ourselves, becomes better people and all that? Why? And that was the truth I was searching for.
Yeah. I had a similar question to like last couple of months for myself in terms of suffering, which was like what I think one of the meanings, and maybe at least in late adolescence, is figuring out what suffering is worth
Mm.
go through. Because whatever category in life you choose, whatever path, there's going to be suffering. But I
Mhm.
think at least for me, because this is my third university,
No.
so I had to figure out in what direction do I actually want to struggle and enjoy the struggle.
Yeah. Sure. Yeah.
What have you found in the search?
You say what?
What have you found? What answers have you found in that search?
Um, I definitely think that I'm not investing in money right now. I want to invest in ideas, in relationships, in experiences. Because I see a lot of people around me uh, focus on money a lot, and especially right now, the times are where everybody in the world is focused on money. But I think that, I mean, I'm not a materialistic person, and I don't want to have a lot of money because I feel like it's going to be a burden. But uh, I just want to invest in myself, and this is what I find. Meaning, not in a super existential way where I wanted to be the best, but in later life, I would like to have a more rich life in terms of experience and what I can think, what I can notice, what people I can meet. I mean, just this
Mm.
experience right now, like a couple of years ago, I was a basketball player and I couldn't have an intellectual debate, and all of a sudden, I'm with all three
Yes.
of you guys having a podcast. I mean, I wouldn't think that would happen, but this is the kind of like what meaning is in life. It's these things that happen spontaneously, that you let come to you, and you can't really get them by chasing. And I think also that you meet your girlfriend or your wife in a similar way,
Mhm.
and then maybe this later becomes a meaning. So I wanted to talk just about. I agree. Uh, there was one thing about Nick that I didn't really agree about, which is that everything is uh, individual. I agreed more with Maxime in terms of, because I didn't express it well enough, and he told us about it is that meaning doesn't only depend on you in terms of course you're going to make a decision what's valuable and what your meaning is, but the choices that you have depend on the environment that you're a part of.
Mhm.
So I think that the meaning does not only depend on you, it also the meaning is a consequence of relationship between your inner structure and the environment, which is then kind of experienced through your frame.
You're talking about the things that produce meaning, but the resulting meaning is individual. It's
Can you explain
constructed.
that?
Okay, so it's constructed in the individual. The environment influences meaning, but in the end, it's the individual who constructs that meaning. Maybe I didn't
Who
articulate
knows? I
myself
mean,
well enough. Obviously, no. Obviously, if you obviously meaning is going to be influenced by the environment. It's just that, in my opinion, you shouldn't be too eager to please the people around you.
No, definitely. I do agree with that 100%. I was more thinking in a way that you cannot really, like, even just language that we're talking right now, or like the ways of reasoning. These are the things that you inherited from the environment. And then they allowed you to look into the environment differently. So it cannot be only individually induced. Of course, I'm saying that probably the decision is yours. I don't know. I don't know if the whole decision is ours, because think about it. When you make decisions, you don't make decisions in a way that there's like, okay, yeah, I'm just gonna make this decision. Usually, what happens is you think about stuff, you don't pay attention to it, it incubates, and then it clicks, and you have the aha moment. We were taught about this this year, I think. So I think that even though you make a decision, it kind of makes sense to you subconsciously. Does that make sense, or did I explain it in a weird way?
I think that makes sense, but I have a question for you then, Nil. Do you think that that anything is truly individualistic then, or individual? By that same token, then most things
No, from my
wouldn't
perspective,
be
I
individual.
think yes, it can be individualist. Everything stuff can be individualistic, but it's not eternal. This is what I would say. I
What do you
think
mean?
it can only occur within a certain event or a time frame. So what I'm saying is, for example, you're a certain type of person at a certain age. You're going in a couple of years, you're going to be a different person. You're not going to be the same person. That doesn't mean you were not the person before. You were not an individual before. But you were. I don't know how to explain. Give me a couple of minutes. I need to find the
Okay.
best words.
Okay,
Okay.
well, while you find them, I have a couple of questions for Danton, if he doesn't
Yeah.
mind. So my first question is, what is a life directed towards God? What does that mean
Yeah, I was
exactly?
also gonna ask that.
I guess it is a thing that it can be interpreted and lived in many different ways. So you can see a life, like I mentioned, you can see a life directed towards God in most like priest way, but become a priest, you become a pastor or whatever, where you actually live your job and your life actually towards God, or you can just live according. Then that's the thing. It depends a lot on your. For example, in Christianity, you have many denominations, right? You have many branches of Christianity, so it kind of depends more on your branch. So you have the main ones, which are Protestants. So Protestants believe that the Bible is the ultimate word of God and that has the biggest authority. So then it will be mostly following the Bible, following the teachings of Jesus, and how to just trying to build a relationship with Jesus as much as you can. And then you have a more Catholic way of seeing, which is mostly the same thing, but it is more related in you live your life with faith in Jesus, and then you try to do the works, which you try to do good things to kind of justify your salvation. So it of course depends on the denomination, but from my point of view, it is you have faith on Jesus, you have faith that Jesus died on the cross to clean all the sins of the world, because every single human being sinned at least once in their lives because of Adam. So Adam. Right. So yeah, like, I can just give like the background. So you have the first two people on earth were Eve and Adam. And Eve, they both ate the big apple of the knowledge of good and bad things that God told them. They had everything they ever needed in their whole life. They were there in the Garden of Eden. They had food, they had comfort, they had absolutely everything. And then God told them, do not eat. You can do whatever, you can eat whatever from here. You guys possess all of this, but you cannot eat that one apple there. And they were fine with that until a snake, which was the devil, which was Satan, came and kind of convinced Eve to tell Adam to eat the apple. And then they both ate it, and that was the first big sin. And that's the sin that kind of Adam was the man of that created sin, basically. Not created sin, but he was the first one that intoxicated the human nature. So all the humans would be doomed to sin at least. Always. We have sin in our nature. And then, throughout the years, God created laws so we could, of course, so he could put order in things. So he created the 10 Commandments and many other small rules in the Bible, in the Old Testament. But everything in this Old Testament was kind of weird because you had all those laws, and for you to go to heaven, you had to follow those laws. So for you to follow those laws, if you don't follow those laws, then you're a sinner, then you're going to hell. And since the human condition is naturally inclined towards sin, everyone's doomed to go to hell. So God was basically like getting some people to heaven, but he was kind of like, okay, but this makes no sense, because, or else I'm not being very just. So what he did, he put his own son on earth, which was Jesus, and Jesus died on the cross to pay for all the sins of everyone who would put their faith on him as the savior, as the Son of God. So ultimately, to be a Christian, to direct your life towards God, will be to have your faith in Jesus, have your faith in God, because Jesus is God. That's kind of the trinity of Christianity. You put your faith in Jesus, try to build a relationship with Jesus, God, as much as you can. And through that, you become a better person, you do good things, but ultimately it's with the hope that you're going to go to heaven one day.
How would you define God? Like, where do you experience God, or what is your thinking about what is Jesus or what is God?
Okay, so God is the ultimate creator of everything. God created everything, created the universe, created Earth, created all the planets. Everything that we have around us was created by God. So God is this unique, what's the word? He's not a human, he's not but he is someone, He has a divine
Spiritual
essence.
being.
He's like a divine essence, yeah. And he's the all-knowing. He knows everything. He knows you. He knows everything that's gonna happen. That's God. He's the all-knowing, you could say in that way. And God has three essences. So you have God the Father, right? So it's the God. The best way to explain that is you think about the sun. So you have the sun, actually, like the star, right? The sun. That will be the Father, God the Father. And then you have the light, which like radiates, and we can like kind of see the light. That will be the sun, because we saw the sun on earth. He was alive here as a human being. That's the second essence of God, which is the Son, the Jesus. And then you have the third essence, which when you look at the sun, you can feel the sun also. So that's like warmth. That will be the Holy Spirit. And those three essences are God. And it's really hard to explain because then people say like, oh, so God is, there are three different gods. No, they're not three different gods. It's one God in three different yeah, like essences. Like there's three different things, but it's God. Those three things are God, but just in
But
different forms.
where
It's
do you
just
see it?
the what?
Where do you experience God in like daily life?
You can experience God in many different ways. Sometimes you can feel God. I even have an own story that I can tell that I was having. Sometimes I'm just praying, and then I ask God to show Himself to me or give me a sign, something like that. And then there were moments when I was very troubled, that I was having many difficulties with decisions in my life, and then I just prayed with my heart, like really a lot, and then I just feel a warmth that is really, really, really strong, as if it was someone was hugging me. And I sometimes, when this happens, I most of the time start tearing up really hard. I really, really, really start crying. And you can say you can feel God, but you can see God in life too. Sometimes you can have dreams that are kind of related to God. You can have people that remind you of God. So God can talk to you through many different ways. Some people can see things, some people can hear things, some people can speak in tongues, as they say. So there are many different ways you can feel and experience God. But it is a thing that you cannot only base God on a feeling thing, because it is faith, you know? You can never. It's just as if I told you guys that I believe 100% with my whole heart that God exists, I cannot say that because I will be lying. I have moments of doubt. I have moments where I say, does God really exist? No, there's so much suffering. Does God exist? I have moments where I doubt myself, but ultimately I always come back to God.
Could you also explain this, but without using God, Jesus, faith, and these terms? Because I do believe we do all essentially are talking about the same things, but we just use different words. Could you explain that without using God and Jesus?
Explaining what way?
How you feel God and what God is? Because what I think you can describe what God is by saying the word God, which is not that good of a description, I think.
So you said God
Or do
is
you guys
something you feel mostly, right?
Yeah.
It's not something that can be described. It's part of the religion.
So language is limiting.
Language is, yes.
Would you say God
Unfortunately.
is based for the experience itself or consciousness itself or like experience itself or no?
Wait, can you repeat that, Neil?
Would you say that God is the base for your experience to take place? In a way that the life that you're experiencing is your experience of God.
Life I am experiencing is my experience of God. I think the life experience is, we're experiencing the creation of God, but not God itself, not God Himself. It's just
Oh,
what we're living in, what God created. So God created us, and that's the ultimate, yeah, like goal of life is just glorifying Him with as much as we can. And going back to Maxim, yeah, I think I cannot explain God without using those things, because yeah, there, like Nika said, it is a feeling thing, but it's also not a feeling thing. It's a very spiritual thing, which is really hard
Mm,
to actually put in words. Spiritual
yeah,
feelings. It's just a sense that you kind of feel, but it's not like feeling emotions. It's something
sure. Yeah.
above that that you
A
cannot put in
presence.
words, really.
Neil, is there a saying in Taoism that says or is that the eternal, no, that's Tao, the eternal Tao that can be explained is not the eternal Tao? Are you
yes,
familiar
yes.
with that?
Cannot really name it since this is what I was trying to talk. You went to the same idea that I couldn't explain before, actually. Yeah. It's like whatever you can name is not eternal. It's
Yeah, yeah.
or think it's gonna end.
Okay, so it doesn't really make sense to talk about it. Well,
Yeah, well,
I
you kind
before
of
I
point at it, you know.
yeah.
But
Well,
I
before I wanted
experience is
to sure, yeah, before I wanted to um point towards topics that are similarities that we've all been kind of talking about, um, which is creation and creativity. I feel like we all, I mean, I'm not sure if Danton as well, but definitely Nick and Neil, we talked about that creating and creation and creativity really gives us meaning. Do you guys think that is a central thing that gives us purpose and meaning?
yes, definitely.
And how do you experience that?
Well, for me, meaning is definitely like getting in touch with the deeper self. And if we talk about Jung, he was talking about symbols where you have the subconscious and the conscious, and there are symbols in between which act as a portal for you to enter and get information about the subconscious. So in those
Sure.
terms, I find it really meaningful for me to do art in life and just try to take a pen or a brush or whatever and just let my hand go and
Mm-hmm.
a subconscious symbol is created, and then by observing it or observing it the next day or even after a year or whatever, I can see some stuff. Um, it kind of makes sense in a way that if you let
Yeah.
your mind and you don't try to understand the meaning, it kind of falls into place. And then it's almost like a mirror where you cannot
Yeah.
see your face if you try to look at your eyes or at your mouth or whatever. But if you just look at your face, it's gonna appear in a way.
Hmm. Yeah, but I agree. It's really if you partake in like the act of creating and art and just drawing, for example, as well. Like, I also love to draw, and I've been drawing for years now. And you can really see things that in things in your drawing that you cannot explain. So you can see these meanings that extend farther than words.
Exactly, exactly. I
Uh,
think this is the closest that me and you have been able to uh, explain what you guys have been talking about God being a feeling, not something that you can explain. And I think we
yeah.
all find this in different ways and maybe call it differently, but is this almost like a base for meaning to take place? Would you guys agree with that, or do you guys have a different opinion?
Creation, you mean?
Um, the source where the creation is coming from, I would say.
It's coming from the subconscious, I would say.
Yeah. And now a question again for you: is it the individual or collective subconscious?
Yeah, also, yeah, it's collective.
That's a loaded question. That's a loaded question. Well, Jung would say, obviously, collective
Mhm.
subconscious, right? Me, I don't know. I'm not brave enough to tell you, or stupid enough
We're also not
to speak
experienced
on these
enough.
things definitively. I myself am probably too young to really grasp it, but my intuition tells me
Yeah.
collective. But I don't think that that contradicts my worldview at all, uh, in my opinion.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. That's also something that I should have probably said at the beginning, like all of us, like I'm a 20-year-old guy who just been basically he started life maybe 2 years ago, like seriously on my own terms and thinking by myself. And I mean, I've been privileged all my life, and I didn't really have to think about these things that much. I mean, I had time and I could, but I think we can guess about it, but we definitely don't have to not to a full extent have the authority to really say something definite about this. I don't know if anybody has, but yeah, I mean, but of course, it's just exploratory right now, and it's fun. But
Yes, and I'd advise us to, keep exploring. To that end,
sure, yeah,
Danton, I have
Don't be
a few
static.
more questions. I'm sorry, I just
Oh yeah.
love discussing these sort of things. So, another spicy question, right? So, why not devote your whole life to God, right? Why go to uni, for example, if like meaning is derived from glorifying God and directing your life towards God, as if I understand correctly, you said, why not devote your whole life to God?
I guess this comes back to the idea that God created all of this. So when God created the two first humans, Adam and Eve, he created them not in like a small cubicle where they had to worship God. He created them with the idea that they were worshiping God, they were seeing God as their authority, but they were living life. So God didn't create us only to worship him, only to just look at him all the time 24/7 and have our eyes on him like God all the time praying 24/7 without eating or something like that. He created this to be lived. He created this for us to go through life through all those things, but having him as the main thing in our lives. It's just like when you get married, for example, you have your spouse, you have your wife or whatever, but you don't make she's not the everything of your life. She's part of your life. She's something that adds something, but she's not the she doesn't take all your life. But that's of course that's like I said. You can be very extreme. You can be a priest. You can do this or that. But ultimately, if you read the Bible, uh, when God talks about, especially in the Old Testament, when he talks with the prophets and with the people who were very important to God himself, he wasn't promising like I'm gonna give you more time to worship me. No, he was promising I'm going to make you wealthy, I'm going to give you food, I'm gonna make you safe, I'm gonna multiply your ancestors. So God actually wants us to live life. So in one point, while you can make God everything, and that is amazing, you can make God your main thing, but that's not necessary. And just like if you look at the Ten Commandments, you have one commandment that says that you should honor the day of the Sabbath, which is one day, which is like some hours in one day. It doesn't say worship me every single day of your life. Just one day. Take at least one day of your life to worship me. Like actually stop caring about this world we live in and worship me. And that is fine. One day, that's everything I'm asking you. And if you live your life towards God, that's perfect. But I completely understand this idea that why, if God is the main thing, why wouldn't you worship him and not do anything else? Then I guess it also comes back to like society, you know? If I if I don't eat, I die. If I don't go to uni, I don't have money to survive, you know? But like I said, God created all this for us to experience.
You could go to the monastery.
So what?
You could go to the monastery, become a monk. You'd have enough to survive. No, strictly theoretically speaking. I mean, it's not like you have to go to uni. It's not on the same level of food or water, I guess. Food and water, they can be attained. Money, material. You could survive in a monastery and devote your life to God. But I understand what you're saying. Another question is human creativity, because we're all God's creation. Is it the same as as God's creation? Do you understand what I mean? So it's we kind of came to a consensus, even though you, Dantong, have not voiced your opinion on it, that creation is meaning in many ways, interacting with that subconscious. So is human creation kind of like God's creation, because we were created by God?
I had never thought about it in that way, but like what as you guys are saying right now, it makes complete sense because if you look at God created us in his image. So God didn't create us based on whatever random thing. God created us based on his own image. And he is the creator of everything. He created Earth to make it a big thing, to make something special. So if he is the creator of everything and we're based on his image, this should explain why we have this. We find a lot of meaning and creativity. I'd say I've never thought about that, but I would say so. I would say it makes a lot of sense why a lot of meaning is derived from there. And I forgot what I was gonna say, but I agree.
Wasn't Adam tasked with naming everything that God created? Wasn't that the first thing he was tasked with?
I think so. Yeah, I
That plays
think.
into it, right? Creativity.
Yeah, this should explain. I never thought about it as well, so like I really can't give that much of a what, Neil?
There's a distinction between a creation and act of creativity, and I think that you can find God in act of creativity, but in art itself as an object, not really. At least that's my experience.
What's the difference between art itself as an object and creativity? What's the distinction
No,
there?
it's like the process of making an art piece, where you're in the flow. You know, usually when you're creative, things come out of you naturally. And for me, this is maybe I believe in God. I'm an atheist, which sounds weird because if you're a Taoist, you're not really a religious person. But I have a totally different perspective on what God is than you. So, is it okay if I just explain like in 2 minutes?
Go
real
for it.
quick?
No, go for it. Take as long as you want.
Yeah, the reason why I'm interested in Eastern wisdom is that, you know, one of the first, okay, before Taoism 5,000 years ago, you had something like yin and yang, simple stuff, but the most potent ideas were in India with Buddhism, which was there before Hinduism, and then when Hinduism came 500 years after, you know, Buddhism really started, these ideas would get pushed out of India into two directions. One direction was over the Himalayas and Nepal to China, and then to Japan, where through connection with Taoism it became Zen. But the other wave went to Pakistan and Afghanistan and Iran, and out of these ideas, Christianity came. So this is why I asked you the questions before, because there is, and I'm not saying that I'm correct, I might be super biased. I spend a lot of time reading about this stuff and researching it, so I know my sources, but I might be wrong. But you know, Buddhism in a way works in a way that you don't have a god, but Buddha is an enlightened self, an enlightened you. And before Jesus came back to Jerusalem, he went on a trip, right? And it's very likely he went somewhere in the Middle East where these ideas were possible. And when he said that Jesus is a son of God, this is the difference between interpretation of East and West. You know, in the West we take it literally, where we say, okay, because Jesus was the son of God, then he is the only one, and we can only strive to that path, to that ideal. While in the East, they would say more like son of God does not mean his actual son, in because the world is not made in a human egocentric anthropocentric way. It's more like that son of means nature of. And one of the earliest things that Jesus was talking about, and I might be biased, is that we are all God, and His word about Jesus more that you are Jesus. Each one of us is Jesus in the same way that everybody is a Buddha when they're enlightened, when they have flow. You know, in the same way where in creativity, you're in a flow where you don't have thoughts, stuff just comes out of you. It's in some way a natural way, but then Christianity obviously changed because it was spreading around Rome so much and so quick that Rome started to fall apart. And they had to institutionalize it and say, okay, no, we don't perceive as Christianity anymore that God is all around us. We think that you can only access God through a church or through a medium like a Bible. And obviously, the same thing happened with Taoism and with Buddhism and with Hinduism. But when you look deeply into all of these different belief systems, they have this same idea of where we could say it in this sense, creativity and the process of creativity is where you can get in touch with God or any type of flow experience. You know, I mean, we have flow in many different parts of life. But yeah.
Yeah, it's like you're saying right now, it's very all those religions, and when you we also compare our experiences right now, it always comes down to like also perfecting yourself, right? Reaching this like enlightenment, reaching, because in the Bible it says a lot, be Jesus tells people a lot to be perfect as our Father is perfect. Be perfect as my Father is perfect, because you want to be aiming to this perfection, to and this enlightenment. So it really brings this
Enlightenment
point.
perfection.
What?
Is enlightenment perfection? Is it more like freedom? Or how would you, what is enlightenment for you guys? This is also such a wide as meaning itself, you know.
Mm. Mm.
Well, I guess enlightenment for a Buddhist and for a Christian are completely different. Danton mentioned that when the Bible it states that you should be perfect like your God, right?
Just
Which
strive to be perfect, even though it
strive to
is
be perfect.
impossible.
Yeah, 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 yeah. And then you, Nil, I guess, think that enlightenment is about freedom. Freedom from what exactly? From the material or?
Freedom from the perception that you are separate from experience or
Yeah.
separate from the environment or separate from nature. And this is why I asked uh, Danton before, you know, where does he see God? Because he said, well, uh, God made the world in his own image. He made us in his own image. And then, you know, if you look from a Eastern perspective, where they say the whole environment and the whole nature is God, which means that you are God as well, then maybe the way Freud and Jung talked about how the subconscious works, we also, everything negative we see is a projection of our shadow. In the same, so the positive and the negative things, or even just identities and meaning itself that we are creating in the world is from our own image, in the same way that you said that God created us in his own image.
In our own image? What do you mean by our own image?
For example, if I am
Our
insecure,
collective image? Our collective image, or what?
well, no, Danton, you said kind of from your own perception in a way, so that the maybe the way you understand or the way you form meaning depends on your life experiences and who you are deeply. So, for example, if I'm fat and I'm insecure about being fat, then I'm probably gonna put attention, or like when I see any person around me, I'm gonna evaluate subconsciously, are they fat or not? Are they more fat than me or not? And in this way, I mean that we create the world, or God creates the world in his own image. Just the way perception works, you know.
So then meaning is derived from experience. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, definitely.
Sounds right.
Exactly what we're talking about. Like you said, yes, the individual values and these things are kind of like your own image or perception. I just think that experience is necessary for these frames, for these perceptions, for these
I don't
evaluation
think
systems to actually take effect,
I
to
agree,
have the
and
context to modify.
I agree, and I don't think my worldview excludes that experience. I think our individual values are developed through experience and interface with the world, and the world, by the way, includes not just society but nature. So I think we could agree on that. You know,
Yeah.
there's a
And one
lot to
topic
be learned and experienced.
something that I noticed while listening to you guys and also speaking that always comes up again is change and uncertainty. How do you guys think that fits into it? Because also when you described the history basically of religion, it's always a change. It's always something that's evolving, and they're all trying to answer this uncertainty. And to what extent can you live with that uncertainty and accept the change? And how does that affect meaning?
What uncertainty are you talking about right now?
That we don't know what meaning is.
Oh, okay.
It's not really a specific question I'm asking, but really it's just these two themes, change and uncertainty, that keep coming up.
Yeah, it is a big question because I think it is kind of everything relates back again to this idea that we want to be. There's a lot of control, right? We want to be in control. We
Mm-hmm.
want to really find the correct thing to live for. It's just like if we just look at nowadays how internet works, for example, we're always searching for the best way to do things. What's the quickest way to
Mm-hmm.
get rich, the best way to get rich. And just by looking at how well those things work just points out something in the human condition, that we're always searching for this sense of control, that to know that we're doing the right thing in terms of, I guess, can be said knowledge or goals. I don't know how to put that.
You know, I got an idea when you asked about uncertainty, when we were learning about Piaget, about how when you know, you can assimilate information that you get from the environment if you have categories that you are certain that you can put them in. But as soon as you're uncertain about how to categorize a new phenomenon, you have to accommodate and make a new category.
Schema. Yeah.
Yeah, a new schema which changes all the other schemas and the meaning
Sure.
of all others. So I think in that direction, um, depending on do you have meaning in the, do you understand your life meaning in the present or in the future, it definitely allows you to become somebody you are not. And I think a human uses it kind of like a tool, you know, because I don't think that my dog would thinks a lot about what his meaning is. You know, he just goes on a walk with me. But because
Yeah.
we can think, and because we can do an abstraction of that, and we can simulate different identities and personalities within us, I think that we kind of created maybe evolutionary meaning as a tool to be able to become
To
what we
strive
are,
for things.
and not by just making new babies and waiting for evolution to take place, but actually doing it in this lifetime.
Yeah. Humans have developed this way of speeding up evolution through representations of things in their minds. This also leads me to a question that I also noted down at the very beginning of that, like, humans have this unique position in nature, in this universe, because we can think about these things and we can act on them and we can manipulate the environment more mm, consciously or more deliberately than other things. And do you guys think we have a certain responsibility to create that meaning or to say what meaning is. I mean, maybe also with tied to God and or the or to Christianity and how the human is viewed there.
I guess for me, when I think about that this unique place humans have in this biology, nature, the whole world, I don't think about the responsibility itself that we have for creating meaning. It just that's one of the things I think about when I kind of show my arguments for why God exists. Because many people say that we come from monkeys and that evolution. Don't get me wrong. I think evolution might exist. It might be like an actual thing, but to say that like when you compare it to everyone in the world, every single species, why are humans the ones that have this capacity to create meaning, to build meaning? And you can say, oh yeah, because we evolved like this, and then we became kind of superior species. So then natural selection has made a lot. For me, I can't just take that, you know. I can just take, and while I like when Neil says that humans are not we're not the center of this world, when you look at all the other species, it's so there's so much difference between what humans are and what everything else is. That for me it seems very weird that humans are just evolved from monkeys like that, and then we're just like here, you know, because of evolution.
Really, why?
Because I just think it's I for me I just like I said, humans have are way above in that sense of so many such a complexity of thinking and being just because we're what we're doing right now, we're talking about the meaning of life. You know, what other species in this world do this? What other species argue and create such organized wars with millions and such complex things? You know, humans have this
I
extra.
would say that complexity is just in a different way. Like look at the ant house, or look at the way patterns of swimming are for sharks and whales, or like the way birds, you know, through seasons change where they're located and stuff like that.
So you're
I
saying
don't.
everything is complex and everything is
I
plays
Yeah,
with
I think we are
to the
not more complex. We just don't have the ability to comprehend the
mm,
experience of other species to that
yeah.
extent.
Yeah. I'm gonna
Also,
go to the toilet quickly, but you guys keep going.
okay.
Can we do a break
Oh wait.
real quick?
Oh, we can do a break then.
Oh,
All right. We can do a break.
okay.
Sure. We can do a break.
Okay.
A few like 2 weeks ago or something like that, and guy Chris said that I don't think you guys know him. He said that science is not here for the why. That's why religion is here. Science is here for the what and how. Religion is here for the why. I guess that makes sense if we're trying to talk
I
about
mean,
meaning and
science
why.
science offers explanations for the why.
Yeah, which ones?
It just doesn't dwell on the spiritual.
Mm, but I think that the why here is it does it say does science explain why is this here? Why is this like it is? Why did this evolve like it is, or why
You
do
mean
these
So
mechanisms work like they work?
the central question at the core of everything?
Yeah,
Probably not, because that's inherently unquantifiable and
yeah,
untestable,
uncertain, and
which is why we're
religion tries
arguing
to answer
right
that
now.
though. Yeah,
Yeah.
so it's the place of religion to do that. I would say.
yeah, I agree. I mean, this is just the thing that I found studying religions a lot for a couple of years and belief systems, that they're all kind of based archetypally on the same ideas. They just happen in different ways depending on what the environment was. But maybe these fundamental archetypal ideas are not only human. Maybe they're much older. Maybe they are millions of years old, and maybe these are the mechanisms of how most vertebrate animals that have at least a little bit similar of a brain to us work and experience reality.
Are we recording, by the way?
Yeah, we were.
Oh, we're recording. Okay, well then, about that, right? Don't you think that we view the world through an inviolably anthropocentric prism, and that our conception of intelligence and even complexity is itself is biased for humans, right?
I agree. I mean, that's kind of what I said in the very beginning, that I think we do have, you do, I would say I have this more non-anthropocentric view that it is not us that says what meaning is, but more this overarching whole nature thing, universe thing. You can even say it's God, but um, it's not just about us.
But
But
meaning
I
is
guess,
a human construct
yeah, of course, yeah, true, true, true.
to our knowledge, as far as we can tell and discuss. Only humans have debates about meaning and stuff like that. But what meaning itself is remains uncertain, to be honest. And we shouldn't say that, for example, I don't know, monkeys or something are lower beings. They are beings that we cannot understand because we have our own sort of human view of this world and our own values and terms that we use to discuss things.
I agree completely with you. And I think that one of the reasons, like what we did is, one thing is, outside of all of our minds in a new space, we created a scientific model which is quote unquote objective. But still, there is an idea that has been in my mind a lot last couple of years, which is, we say that objectivity is something that is outside of our experience, something that is kind of in a collective frame that we created. But the only thing truly that we all are a part of, because objectivity is just something that, you know, can be kind of understood for everybody, so it's not super subjective, but the only thing that we all truly experience is subjectivity, is our experience, is and this kind of, for me, I think through time, and especially with the way we understand AI, it might happen that subjectivity is going to be the new objectivity. In the same way that you can only experience what you might call God or nature or environment through silence or through creativity or through some, you cannot write it down. So you cannot make an objective interpretation of God, but that does not mean that God or what we are experiencing right now does not exist. And I think that this is kind of where our culture, especially Europeans and Americans, have been like this for the last 100, 200 years on how to approach this question.
Yeah, I kind of agree with that because if you kind of look at also how psychology, the direction psychology is taking, right? Before, when you had Freud, when you have Jung, and like Alfred Adler and all those people, I think that's the name of the guy. It was all very psychology. You could say it was very philosophical, right? It was tackling subconscious issues, and then this makes me think whether when you compare this with psychology nowadays, for example, it's everything very scientific. Everything has to be very objective, and it makes me wonder actually sometimes whether, let's say, if Freud never said that the subconscious is a thing, and psychology would be on the same path that it is today, more focusing really on the scientific side of things, empirical cycle and all that, would we have discovered what that is there is a subconscious? Would that have been discovered, or just had this idea that there is a subconscious?
Sure. I mean, if it's a thing, then it at some point somebody will have tried or will try to put it into words.
But
It's
how?
not. It's not that. It's not. So now it's just Freud that was able to receive that idea and verbalize it and had the courage to say it. But the idea, if the idea is around, then somebody else would have had courage to say it.
Yeah, but then it brings this back, like, how long would that have taken, or how hard would it be to actually make a thing? Because subconscious in psychology is such a big thing. But like,
So
Freud never showed that a subconscious exists, you know? The subconscious really like has a, because we can't quantify, like when we talk about psychology, we can't really make an experiment to analyze our thoughts. For example, what is a thought, you know?
I think we can.
You definitely can. I think subconscious
Yeah.
is an extremely active thing, and it's not something that's over there somewhere.
Yeah.
It's happening through us all the time, and it's mostly, I think, little sub personalities within us that are autonomous in a way, that we don't control. They kind of take over us. They're happening to us rather than us doing theirs. So, for example, where you are in a threat situation, aggression is a part of your subconscious experience. It comes
Maybe.
out there. It's extremely present, you know. It's a thing that you can observe, and I think that when you asked, would we discover subconscious? I think we have always knew kind of about the subconscious, and this is one of the reasons why religions by themselves were existing. Because if you look at the Greeks, for example, I was reading some myths this summer, and when I forgot who the guy is exactly the name, but when he goes to cut the head of Medusa, right? They say Athena, I don't know how to say it exactly. The name
Athens.
Athena.
she
Oh, the
guided
god?
guys
No.
to cut the head. And what that meant was not that she actually came down and grabbed the hand and did this to
Mhm.
the head, but it's more like that a subpersonality within that person did that thing. And a lot of times I think that people and civilizations had religions in order to create a language of how they could talk about certain subconscious dynamics that were happening. So this is why religion with multiple gods like Greek mythology would make sense, because it's kind of little sub personalities within you, and it's more like a language than something that you are supposed to like go to church or dedicate your life towards.
And how does that relate to meaning now?
To meaning.
Yeah.
No, we were talking
Oh, we're
about the
just talking about the
subconscious.
subconscious.
The
Right.
subconscious, which, by the
Well,
way,
maybe
no.
it does, because I think these subpersonalities are archetypal in all of us. This is why they work. So if you understand this type of a language, you can create meaning through that language in a way that it's understandable for somebody else who also has the same language. Because I can create a meaning, something that is meaningful to me, and then when I try to share it with you, if it's not in English right now, I would say something in Slovenian, it would have no meaning, you know. So I think that we try to write down or create certain patterns of what our experiences with the subconscious mind is, and then try to put it into a language or a religion or even science, and then use this in order to communicate our urges, our desires, really.
Nil, it sounds like you read the Iliad. Am I correct? It sounds like something.
No, but I just bought it like a couple of weeks ago.
Ah, yeah, it's good. It's good. I like
Can
it.
you tell me what about it you associate with what I said?
The battle scenes, obviously. There's a lot of it like in the descriptions of the characters when they're battling, there's always some sort of God present, because it's mostly gods who direct these human beings, and not all of them, of course. The most powerful ones are blessed by a certain god, or in this case, Athena, like how you described. For example, directs the hand of the warrior and makes him so great, and it's his connection to her that makes him so powerful.
And we today have social media, which is extremely similar to what religion used to be. We have mythological type of personas. We have Drake, we have Trump, we have Taylor Swift, we have Oprah. All of these are mythological figures. We don't really care about their names or about their faces, but they represent some familiar type of a persona, maybe a part of us even. You know,
The
I mean,
difference
isn't it
is
funny
that
how Trump acts completely different than all politicians, and all of a sudden, 50% of politicians across the whole world started acting differently? That means that his way of behavior, this sub-personality that he's expressing, this myth that he's expressing, is kind of present within all of us.
I mean, I guess the difference is that they're people, actual people, as opposed to gods.
Yes,
it's
but
an
maybe not.
interesting
Yes, but
comparison you
not in
bring
your
up.
head. You know,
I
I
guess.
have never met any of these people, so they're not really people to me. They're more like a story.
But I wouldn't call them gods.
No, I wouldn't
called
call them
them,
gods at all. No, no, no.
or even
I'm saying that they're more like mythological representations of certain things. In the way that the way that Danton said that God used his own image to uh, paint us or make us, in the same way, when we, in order to understand somebody or some particular type of behavior or personality, we look from our mythological archetypal frames that are within the subconscious that arise in all of us, in all religions, in all humans.
So just you're saying that just like in Greek mythology, where these gods represent different emotions or ways or sub personalities, just then like that, just like Trump represents like stupidity and tyranny or something.
Yeah.
Okay.
Nil, please. What archetypal framework or frame fits Donald Trump? You talk of archetypes. I assume you're talking about the Jungian archetypes, right? So, in your opinion,
I don't know. I don't know. I would not name them, but I think we kind of all know what we're talking about. Like he named them stupid. I would say fifth grader, fourth grader, this type of archetype, like a third grade bully or something. I don't know. How would you name it? Trickster. That's a Jungian archetype, right? Maybe that, but I have not read enough about Jungian archetypes in detail to be able to like make any type of estimation.
do you believe in free will?
Certain degree, only to a
Explain.
certain. Uh,
Quick sip.
yeah, I don't know if this was free will actually. um, no, I think that it's hard to explain. If you want to have free will, you will have it, but you do not bite. I mean, you do not beat your own heart in a way, even though that's you. So I think you have free will on a surface level, not on a. You do not have free will to go into the subconscious or anything like that, or. Also, when I was talking about when aggression controls you, I don't think you really have many times that much of a free will over controlling some of these subpersonalities that you have.
So the subconscious presents your conscious options, right? Which you choose from. So that's the surface level free will that we have. We have the free will to choose, but those choices are presented to us by the subconscious, right?
Yes, yes, yes. You put it much better in words than me.
Yeah, that was put very nicely. And it
Yeah.
just feels like we have the feeling of free will, but if it's really free will at its core.
And
Yeah, I mean,
is this
to understand.
related to is this related to how we find meaning? How each of us individually find meaning in life? Like in a sense that we have the surface level free will, and through the surface level free will, each of us kind of decides how we see life and find meaning in a way.
What do you think?
From hearing like all of us through this 1 hour and a half we've been speaking already, I feel like we can kind of focus on whichever part of this mechanism of meaning, because now that we all spoke, it seems like there's a very good consensus in a way. If you break down, if you like remove the religion part, if you remove the everything and make down just like to make the mechanism itself, it always comes down to like, can we all do we have a consensus that like life is about something bigger than ourselves, like the meaning of life is related to something bigger than ourselves, or we don't have a consensus on
Sure.
that?
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's about
Nicholas.
this. Yeah.
Yeah, all right, all right, all right,
Yes.
yeah. So and then also apart from that, we have this thing of creativity, of wanting to find the truth, of wanting to discover, wanting to create, to live and all that. I got kind of lost.
To love as
But
well.
what?
To love as well.
To love as well. Yeah, I suppose so.
Yeah, by the way, what's the role of love in all of this?
It,
This is the first time anyone's mentioned love, and love is
I
kind
wanted
of
to
a
That,
mention
big
that's
it
a
at the
very
thing.
very
good.
beginning, but I didn't. I think it's the what comes to mind is now the devoting yourself to God and feeling His warmth and mm, yeah, feeling that love. So it's the force that guides you to act in accordance with the one.
Yeah,
The
I
one?
agree. It is God and all this religion thing, Christianity. Love is the main thing. It says like in many books of the Bible that you can kind of believe in God, just like the Satan. He believes in God. He knows that God and Jesus exist. The only difference is that Satan hates God. You know. So this idea of love, and many books they also say like the Apostle Paul says all the time, no matter whatever you do it with love. The main thing, the main emotion, the emotion that passes everything, that is the base of the human nature, is love.
Yeah, I think that's kind of an answer. Like, I think love is guides to meaning. You know, what is truly meaningful to you, love is gonna bring you there.
And what do you guys love? Or Nick, do you want to also add something first?
No, not really. No, I'm still thinking. You know what I'm thinking about the fact that love can be used to justify awful things, and that love itself, uh, you know, well, well, it is a virtue. It can very easily become something that blinds us, and that allows us to do immoral or just disgusting things, is what I think. Some people kill for love, for example.
Yeah,
Sure.
but I think we're missing something here. That we're talking about love, but we haven't given a definition as to what is love. For you guys,
Okay.
what is love? Because love can range from I love me as a I love my sister, but like she's like brotherly love. My mother, mother loves her sons. I can love my friends. I can have a romantic love for my partner. What is love? What type of love are we talking about? Can you feel love when you're doing creations? When you have this creativity? What is love? We got to define that first of all.
I
Well,
mean, I
that's
kind of
like
already said it,
that's
no?
that's like defining meaning. Well, the Greeks, I think,
Sure. Yeah.
defined 7 or so different types of love, and even they didn't get to the bottom of what it actually is. Love, like God, is a feeling, right?
Mhm.
It
Yeah.
is a
And
feeling.
where it's there, yeah.
Well, obviously, yeah. I said nothing new there. Love is a feeling. Oh my God, really? Um, no, but I mean to say. What do I mean to say? Is that we will inevitably disagree on what love is, but I feel like the four of us probably love our families, right? And I think that's a good starting point. why do we use the word love? So then, based on that, love is then something positive, right? Obviously, we have to begin from the basics, right? Love, what is it? It's a feeling, yes. Positive, yes. Directed to close ones, I think, is also a third kind of characteristic. Would you agree? Or not necessarily, because it
No,
can be
not
directed
necessarily.
toward
Or
gods.
something that's really meaningful
God.
to you.
Yeah,
Something
yeah,
that's really
maybe.
meaningful. Yeah, that's a good one.
So we can continue to list off these traits of love, and then maybe by connecting those traits, we can kind of sort of define it, right? Do you agree?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So then what else can you say about love?
One idea that I usually have, that I've been in love with a couple of girls in my life, and I would say that you are really in love when you don't know why you love somebody. As soon as you have a reason why I love them because of this or that, that's gonna change and you don't love them anymore, and you realize you never loved them. But there are some girls that I was really in love with. I got no clue why, man. And I think it's similar kind of with family. You don't love your family because they support you so much and because they are with you for 20 years. It's something deeper, some deeper meaning.
What about people who've been abused their whole lives by their families, I don't think I don't think that they love their families quite like we do, for example, because I think we have supportive ones, right? Is that fair to assume?
But
Yeah.
I guess it depends a lot also on, because it's spoke like people that suffered abuse, but you could say that some people even after they suffer abuse, like just imagine moms that have sons that are absolutely horrible people. You see like this image in movies of moms crying after their son did something extremely horrible, and it's this absolute big drug dealer, Breaking Bad type stuff. And you look at that, and the mom still like loves their son. So it's kind of like
Yes.
what Neil said, that the motherly love is not a love that comes from something external or for like a characteristic. It's something that's kind of, you could say, that is biological, spiritual. What would you guys say?
Yeah, I mean, what comes to mind is the biological thing. You could always argue, yeah, the mother loves her son still because he is her son and he carries her genes, and we are, as animals, motivated to keep reproducing and support our kin.
But
And
then
I think that's
that's the antithesis of it being something spiritual,
yeah,
right? Then you're adding a biological sort of explanation to it, right?
sure. I mean, that's what I kind of see as a quite a mm, sturdy or sturdy meaning of life, that you just, our organisms want to keep living, reproduce, and keep their offsprings alive. Like that doesn't exclude all the other stuff, but it is one part of it, I would say.
Okay, so what are things that we do when we're in love? Like attachment, focus, care.
Something
Is
approaching
attachment a part of love or no? What do you guys think?
That's a tough question. I'd also add to that list maybe something approaching insanity, if that can be defined. The expression head over heels, right? So
Uh-huh. Yeah.
yeah.
Definitely.
Well, I
I
don't know the
agree.
expression.
Well, so I don't know. It's about someone being deeply, deeply, like completely in love, losing all control, really,
Yeah. It
and
takes
just
over. Yeah.
yes.
Yeah, it's not really rational sometimes, but I guess that's the point of love.
But
So it
then,
defies logic.
So what?
It defies logic in a certain way, but not
Yeah.
necessarily because Maxime had a biological explanation for love, right? And certain people like to say that, oh, love is just a chemical in your brain and that there's nothing real to it. While that may be the case, it doesn't help anyone, right? Because
Yeah.
we still experience love, as if
Sure,
it
yeah.
were real, as if it were real. It has this kind of meaning
Yeah.
to us,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. I
And
just said it because it comes to mind. It's not really that I think it's the thing that explains it, and I definitely I know, like I said, it doesn't exclude all the other stuff, that all the other meanings of love.
But I guess that kind of reinforces also the idea that the whole like nature and all that is kind of interconnected, because at one point you could say like, okay, yeah, it's not love because it's biological, like Nika said, it's just chemicals in our brain, or meaning it's something not completely internal because you have external influences. This just kind of reinforces the idea that, of course, because there's the external nature, everything that around us kind of always have an impact on what's happening to us. But yeah, this it makes that argument stronger in a way.
Can I propose an idea?
Go for it.
Like, for maybe we can tackle this question in a way that we quickly just say what is meaningful, or what is not, what is definition of meaning for us, but what is something meaningful for all of us, and then maybe we can find the base of kind of what these things represent to us, and how there might be an overlap that might show us in what way meaning works in all of us.
So list things that are meaningful to us.
Yeah, yeah. Some.
Start, Neil.
Creativity is definitely, and people, and freedom.
What about people?
Mostly the stuff that's within my values. What?
What about people? What part of people? Because people could say it's very can be very broad.
Yes, yes, yes. For me, I want to really hear what you're saying. I want to understand from your perspective what you're saying. This is kind of for me the meaning, to kind of meaning in meeting people for me is to be able to have efficiency or accuracy in understanding what exactly you're trying to tell me.
And why is seen as meaningful for you?
Mm. Hmm. I don't know. I think you guys have to name it something as well. Might be an idea.
I can try. I can
Go
try.
for it, Nikas.
I've limited myself to three things because I think really a lot of us can name at least like 15 if we really think about it. A
Mm.
lot of things are meaningful, but to me, I guess at least in the abstract, those would be knowledge, skill, and creation as well. So we overlap on creation, you and I, Nil, but to me, knowledge and skill are very important. So knowledge being the basis, the material, and skill being the application of that knowledge.
I have both same.
Awesome.
Mhm.
I didn't name all of them. I just named some.
Yeah, I mean, also two more abstract terms that came to mind, like kind of linked to this, are learning and growing as well. Learning, growing, and loving. And growing and learning in the sense of learning about myself, learning about the world, learning my place in it, learning my strength and weaknesses, and then growing from there and doing it with love.
Why is learning something that is seen as meaningful for you, Maxime?
It's fun. I'm really curious, and I really like learning. And of course, there's also the part of it being applicable to certain in certain situations, the knowledge I gain. But learning and growing is quite similar. And I think if you're not learning, if you're not growing, you're dying. Like you can also say that in a biological sense, but also just in a spiritual sense. If you're not evolving, if you're not growing, you're not going anywhere.
I see. It's just it's this idea of progress, right? It kind of overlaps in It's not
Sure.
progress as a means for getting love. Because in the end, we're doing for the experience in most of the times. Or are you doing it for the growth itself? Why are we searching for learning? Why are we searching for knowledge? Why are we searching for skills? Why are those
Because
things seen as meaningful?
life wants to move on, move forward, and we're a vessel for that.
I would say that because knowledge is power, and the ability to, I guess, actualize yourself and expand your worldview, which I feel is really important, especially because every second of every day we interact with this world, we interface, and knowledge really and skill, they give us the tools to interact with that world. Reading, learning, everything. It opens your eyes. The world is infinitely complex. The societies that humans have and other beings have constructed uh, are so complex, really, that without a certain knowledge base, you can't really you can't really interact with it or understand it. Really, discussion begets discussion, and knowledge begets knowledge, I think, right? Uh, Danton, I think you said that, you know, a kind of an end goal uh, is impossible to, I guess, attain if it's not something as simple as, for example, I don't know, making yourself a cup of tea, right? If it's something genuinely like difficult and immaterial, then more often than not, you're not going to be able to achieve it by the end of your life. But I think really the pleasure is, of course, in the journey and in the experience and in the amount of knowledge you accumulate during that experience, really opening your mind to this universe and what it has to offer, be it meaningful or in an internal sense meaningless. It doesn't really matter.
So
Really cool.
we could really nail down to not nail down, narrow down to kind of experience being one of the main things. And experience, we link it with love.
Mhm.
Have we linked it to love, though?
I guess it links to
And you,
love
you
because
experience love.
yeah,
Sorry, what did you say, Maxime?
You experience love.
Yes, but it's one of the many things you can experience. Why is love in
Sure.
particular so important? Because it's one of the,
Mm.
I guess, most salient things you can experience.
I don't know.
Again, it's as hard to define as meaning is, right?
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
True, true, true.
though they are interlinked, I feel for certain people, definitely, definitely.
I just feel like when we talk about those things of going beyond yourself and learning and creativity, I just always, for me at least in my personal how I see it, it always links to love. You know, it always links to like this love for creation, this love for the experience. You know, because for me, love is this. Of course, we can't, like we said, we can't really give a meaning definition to it, but love is this thing that kind of drives you to live life in a more broad way of saying.
But it's not the only thing, though, right?
it is not the only thing, but I feel like it is when you think about when you feel fulfilled. I could When I feel fulfilled, I could really link all those emotions to love. Because if we kind of reach a consensus here that like a lot about the meaning of life is probably more in the experience, I suppose so, rather than than materialistic. Or do you guys think there is a part of meaning which comes to just not materialistic, but more goal oriented in a sense of, for example, self actualization, not for the experience itself of self actualizing, but for the goal itself, you know? Because you can see from two different ways. You can see from two different ways. You can see from the, for example, when you're trying to improve yourself, you can improve yourself for the experience of improving yourself, for the love of it, you know? You can play a sport for the love of it, or you can play a sport for the idea of playing a sport. You can do a goal for the idea of doing a goal. Like, I want to be the best of this. I want to for the idea of the goal, not for the love of it. Or
Yes,
you want to, like Maxime said, that learning is some part of something that brings meaning. Is learning something that brings meaning because it kind of gives a sense of progress, or is learning something that gives meaning because it gives a sense of progress, which in turn gives us a good experience, you know? Or is it the progress or learning gives us a good experience, that's why it's meaningful, you know? It's trying to find this distinction between, is the experience itself, or is it this a goal, for example?
maybe a base of a lot of what constitutes meaning is exploration, and then you just try to figure out uh, where is it meaningful to go explore, or where is it meaningful to go when I explore that there are gonna be meaningful things or valuable things. And a lot of times when you don't really have time or energy to think about it, I think love is something that points out emotionally or subconsciously what is meaningful, or what you as an organism would like to explore more and be a part of.
I feel like, yeah, a lot of the time there is a material goal that you're striving towards. I assume we all want to finish our studies, right, and get a diploma. Now that's a material goal right there. It is part of the experience of, I guess, the attainment of knowledge. Would you guys agree?
Okay.
It's one of the
Yeah.
end goals, right? And this diploma will then allow you to pursue further knowledge, for example, by doing your master's, right? So this is an example, right, where I guess the material and the immaterial intersect, and they really often do, right? And goals don't always have to be you know, unquantifiable, because and they often aren't in actuality, because then otherwise we'd have nothing to really strive toward, or we wouldn't know how to attain certain things, because we live in a material world. We value immaterial things, but we live in an immaterial world. So a lot of the times we need to strive for a union of these two things, right? So for example, if I want to, I don't know, pass on my knowledge, or to uh, continue life through procreation, so to speak, for lack of a better word, then I have a concrete material goal. That's to, I guess, have kids, right, and then make sure that their lives are good, right? That's yeah, that's an immaterial goal that can be defined in terms of the material. Does that make sense?
Makes complete sense.
But then,
Complete.
in that sense, if you think about it that way, then monks or anyone who does not search for the a quantifiable goal, they wouldn't be happy. They wouldn't have meaning.
Mm.
Does it make sense what I'm saying?
Yeah.
They still have religious experiences a lot of the time, don't they? And those they do. Can we assume that they do?
Sure.
Right?
And they're real. I don't know, Danton, have you had a, you said that last April you were in a sort of crisis. Was there a specific religious experience that brought you back to God? If there was, then it probably felt real, right? And quantifiable in that moment, right? Maybe. So then I wouldn't say that those
Probably
monks
not
lack.
quantifiable.
What?
Probably not quantifiable.
Well, yeah, you're right. Probably not quantifiable, but it definitely did feel real, as if God is right here, right, with me. Okay, and with me alone. In that sense, I don't think that that there's no meaning in the lives of monks, for
Yeah,
example.
but then if you look at the example when it comes to monks and all that, they are searching for something you could say is quantifiable. They're searching for this experience, this religious or spiritual experience, but that is an experience. That is not something like I want to finish university. Finishing university is not an experience you feel. It is a material thing that occurs in the world and not an experience that happens to you. What they are doing, they're finding meaning purely through experience. They're not finding meaning through material, they're finding meaning through experience. And that's the point. That's what I was trying to make a distinction of. That do we find meaning in experience or in the goals and the material, quantifiable things of life and all that?
Depends on philosophy. You know, whether do you live in the present or do you live in the future?
Or do you believe in the existence of heaven, right?
Exactly.
Because then their goal is to get into heaven. They believe that heaven exists. It's real for them, right? Of course, you could still say that, oh, it's immaterial because your soul goes to heaven, not your body. The corporeal and the spiritual are completely different, but that's still an end goal. It's not just for the experience. It is still a goal that is kept in mind, I think. Would you agree?
Yeah. Delayed gratification.
But isn't the experience of being in heaven what they chase, not actually just going through the gates?
Yeah, I think this is the difference between do you live for the future or do you live for the present, you know? Because I think
How?
if you believe that if you live in the present, then you believe that heaven and hell are not something that comes after, but something that is a state of mind that you can be a part of.
Yeah.
If you live for the future, you're not there, you know? So it's something unattainable or not yet.
So a meaning of your life is to be in the present instead of living for a future.
For me?
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a couple of weeks ago, I read something in a book, and it was somebody asked a Zen monk, "What is the meaning of life?" And he said, "It's windy outside today." You know, like
Yeah.
something completely different.
He's so present. Sure. Yeah.
But that is also related to the idea of this perfect enlightenment, right? Because that's, do you guys think it is possible to live in a present like that?
Yeah, I'm not sure. It's possible if you are in a monastery and meditating the whole day. But that's also like something I thought about. Like, sure, it's really nice to be in the present, but in our system that we're living in and the things our life requires, it's quite hard to be present all the time.
That's true. I don't think it would be healthy to be present all the time, though.
Why is that?
I think that you need a balance. I mean, I don't know what way to explain. I think that the way we understand future and past makes us human and not primates. I think that we need to get into that primate present like state a couple of times once in a while to calm ourselves. If we would only be in a human state all the time, then we would be stressed out and get exhausted. But I think if we would only be in the present and only be like a primate, we would never be able to function in a society.
Because when you're in the present, you can't hold all those representations of the world at this moment in your mind, which you
Yeah.
need if you want to keep this structure alive.
Exactly, exactly. I think that where the question is, at least in my opinion, is whether you have the ability to switch between the modes, or
Yeah.
are they taking over you?
Yeah,
know?
yeah.
I think our generation has a big problem with not having enough of an attention span to even think about this type of control.
Yeah, respond, not react.
In your opinion, do they focus on the present too much or on the future? Do they overthink
Who?
the future? I guess the contemporary generation.
Well, our
So the
generation?
generation, our generation,
Ooh.
or the generation that's growing up.
I don't think we're in the present a lot, because I think a lot of times, if you look over here in Amsterdam, there are a lot of things that you have to pay a lot for, but they allow you to not focus on your emotions. Like, I mean, meat is more expensive, caffeine is more expensive. There are a lot of drugs here, there is prostitution here. And all of these things allow you to kind of suppress a present state with your emotions or with your psyche. And I think that casinos and reels, which are like slots, kind of work in a similar way. And our generation is programmed. I mean, just look how much prescription drugs we learn about in psychology, and what's happening in America with ADHD and stuff. And I mean, just any type of medications in America. How many people are taking it? And I think it's a consequence of not being able to be in the present, in terms of understanding what the pressures are and your emotional state and what your reaction is to this whole structure that we are living through.
Do you think it's kind of like a, can put it generally like a balance? So we're too much on the future anxious side of the balance. The more optimal states would be like in the middle, where you're, or more to the present side, whatever. But you gotta keep this balance. Or it's like too present would become like animals, kind of in a way. We wouldn't have this human qualities of thinking about future and past. But too much in the anxious side, too much thinking, overthinking, then we'll be too stressed.
Yes, because the more you think about the future, and the more uncertain you can be, and uncertainty makes you anxious and suffer. And I think you should find ways to regulate, and this is kind of part of what your job is growing up, figuring out kind of.
Accepting uncertainty.
Really, this idea, this biological idea too, is kind of like the homeostasis, right? If you look at biology, your body's always trying to reach this basic
Equilibrium.
equilibrium. Yeah. Trying to find this equilibrium between presence and anxiety in a way, presence or future thinking. This, I guess, this comes a lot to this idea of meaning and human condition. I guess we should touch on one thing that we haven't talked about. So we're trying to talk a lot about meaning, but what is meaningless? Are there
Numbers.
things that are meaningless?
I think numbers, man. I think labels.
Legos?
How so?
Using numbers as labels, I would say.
Labels. Legos.
Yeah.
Legos. They have meaning. I know what they mean. But I guess that's just not definition again.
For me, it's just what I was trying to say is that when we measure something in psychology, like emotion or a personality trait, and try to put it into numbers, or we put a price or something, I don't really think it has anything to do with the inherent meaning or meaning of whatever we're trying to label. I just think that for the lack of better language or understanding of whatever is going on, we put a number on it.
Yeah.
I feel
Yeah, I
like
also
math
don't.
is. Sorry for interrupting. Can
No,
I?
go ahead.
Sorry. Okay, I feel like just math is just another model through which to view the world. You know, it's no
That's true.
different from Stoicism or existentialism or Christianity in a certain way. You know, you can explain the world through numbers as well
I
as
guess,
through dictums or axioms. You know, maxim.
but I guess, what you mean is that it doesn't really serve us any purpose to label people or label our experiences with measurements and labels.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, sure. I
I
also
think
really don't
by
like the
themselves,
labels.
yeah, by
Hmm?
themselves, they're meaningless. I
Sure,
would say.
yeah. Yeah. As an explanatory thing, it's meaningless.
But they never exist by themselves. The goal of psychology, besides its explanatory goals, is to help people, and people always exist in a society. And the reason why we use numbers is because things such as means exist. You know, there's a mean, I guess, I don't know, sort of anxiety level or a mean IQ, and people exist a lot of the time in society, particularly in society. You know, relative to other people. So in order to help those people, we need to know that they differ from the mean or that they're different. You know. So
Yeah.
in that sense, numbers are definitely useful and meaningful.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
What about for you guys? What is meaningless or what doesn't have meaning? That was a good explanation, by the way. Really good one.
Yeah. No, but I'm just thinking, how much do you guys think? How much do you guys think that language has helped us or not helped? Like the opposite of help, what would be like, um, made it harder for us to find the meaning of life?
Maybe a bit hard. What comes to mind first is harder because you cannot explain it, like I already said. And then trying to talk about it will never make it justice. So it's kind of meaningless to talk about meaning.
Yeah.
Yeah, and because and also like because we about labeling things, because we have so many labels because of science, so many emotions, so many things. Do you guys think all this labeling has kind of biased our brains a lot in seeing less things than we actually might see?
Oh yeah, sure. Like at the moment, I don't remember where I got this from, but the moment where you teach a child that this is a tree, it doesn't really look at it the same as if it would just as if you would tell it, I don't know, what is it? Go look at it. How does it look like? How does it feel like? And that's a totally different experience than saying, okay, that's a tree. So in that sense, it does hurt sometimes because it prevents us from looking deeper and trying to understand it more. It gives us certainty that we understand what is out there.
But it allows us to have discussions such as this one.
Sure.
Terms and labels definitely lead to more rigid thinking. And the more you know, I would say, the more rigid your thinking is within the bounds of your knowledge. You know. But definitions allow us to have discussions. You know,
Sure.
if everyone would have their own definition, how would we
Which
agree
are
on
meaningless.
anything? Yeah.
I
You
don't know.
know?
I mean, this debate is kind of meaningless, is it not? Isn't this the beauty of it?
I'm having fun, so it's meaningful for me.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, but then it comes to this idea. What I said again, we're doing
Experience,
this
yeah,
this
for the
debate. It's
experience.
meaningless, but the experience of doing the debate is what is the thing.
Yeah, so the meaning of life is to experience.
But then why don't we go and just drug ourselves all the time?
Because it prevents us from experience in the future.
Drug? What do drugs have to do with this?
No, I'm just saying because if we just okay, we can nail down to just experience, but then why don't we live a very hedonistic life, you know?
Is that
Because we describe, I mean, we define what good means in a different ways, I think.
Because pleasure isn't meaning, I would say.
yeah.
But me isn't meaning experience.
The way we defined it, if we defined it at all, maybe, yeah, but I don't agree. I don't agree that meaning is experience and experience only.
What are we missing?
Pleasure, which is the goal of hedonism, more often than not leads to nihilism, you know? Really. Pleasure, you know, wanting increases, but liking stays the same, right?
What if we
So,
yeah, what if we just
because
narrow down to instead of just pleasure, we change it to like something like love and fulfillment? If we narrow down to the meaning of life being to experience fulfillment.
I would say that the love, meaning is love, yeah. I would say that.
Sure, but we said multiple times that both these terms mean so much, so it's kind of
Everything is
everything says
Everything is everything.
blah 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 blah. Yes, I mean it's a really hard question. Like we said, we won't reach an answer, but
For me, it's so surprising we are not learning about or even discussing it in school, you know? Because I think as a psychologist, these are questions that definitely can change the course of your study a whole lot.
in what way?
Uh, Framing meaning within psychology,
Mhm.
or like in what way to if we would talk about what the meaning of our studies are and what is the meaning of psychology, I think that each person would kind of develop a new way of approaching the study, and we wouldn't be studying so much for a test.
So what you're saying is if we define or change the way the why we do it, the what changes as well. So if we change the way why we study, the studying itself or the outcome also changes.
Yeah, I think that you would at the end of the study have a different combination or structure of your knowledge, because you would approach lectures and the books differently.
but you couldn't have chosen this major without first knowing what it is or what it means.
What?
Basically, right? So, in order to choose psychology, you need to know what psychology is, and you need to be interested in psychology, correct?
Okay.
So, therefore, you probably already know what psychology is or what it means.
To a certain degree, there's a Dunning-Kruger effect. Because I've been reading psychology books for years, and each year I feel like I know less. So I came here.
Okay.
My meaning of here was to learn how to talk and express ideas in a scientific way, and what psychology means scientifically. And as we talk now, because I asked myself kind of what is the meaning of my study, I am able to study in a different way that I studied, for example, in high school.
So then etymology is not the same as meaning, right?
What do you mean?
Really? That's what it fundamentally comes down to. So I think I was talking about etymology and definition and what things mean on paper, what psychology is. And you really delineated meaning, right? The meaning of psychology as something different from the definition of psychology. Do you guys understand what I mean, right? So to really grasp the meaning of psychology, you have to, I guess, dive deeper than the base definition of psychology. Right?
This is why we're doing the specialization, if you think about it. We are just not, I was just interested in the idea, why are we not talking about it in the first year? Why are professors not asking us about this? Why are we not in the practicals just having a debate? Like, what the hell is psychology? You know, I think
I guess
psychology
it's
is
because
as wide as meaning and as love. I got no clue what the hell psychology is, honestly.
psychology historically has always been a sort of kind of a chimera or in an identity crisis, so to speak. So it began as philosophy, basically, right?
Mhm.
So Freud, what he did mostly was interpretation and philosophizing.
It
Right?
started
And
there.
then, what?
You said it
Oh
started
no,
there.
no, it didn't start there. Fine, Henry Williams or whoever, or not Henry Williams. I don't remember. William James, who's the
Yeah.
guy? Yeah. And then afterwards, blah blah blah. And then it transitioned into this sort of science because it wanted to be taken seriously, which is why when people now choose to study psychology, they get taught science, and they're often surprised by this because psychology is psychology is about these things which are so kind of on paper unscientific, right? That you're surprised, by this focus on the empirical.
Yeah, right.
Which is to answer your question, why we don't discuss these sort of things. Which, by the way, yeah, I'm also kind of sad that we don't focus on the philosophical side of psychology. But I suppose that's why it's psychology and not philosophy.
Because it's not falsifiable.
Yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
Oof. Did we get anywhere with the discussion?
Yeah, I feel like we did like a whole world tour.
Yeah.
Yeah. Feels like every time we got to a point where it seemed like a climax, then we just kind of found a reason why it makes no sense, and then we just went back
Yeah.
and around, and it goes and well.
But I definitely think I got a bit more clarity and we could find consensus quite a few times.
For sure. For sure. No, yeah, after comparing what we all spoke about, you can clearly see that there's like there seems to be I don't know if you can call it a mechanism or a general
A golden thread.
consensus. Yeah, like
Yeah.
something for meaning in humans.
I think this was a springboard for other topics. So we began with meaning, and then we talked about love and the subconscious. And fundamentally, this tells me that a lot of the things that we experience are connected to meaning in some way. You know. Yeah.
Yeah, meaning can be found in many different places. That's why existentialism is such a thing. That's why absurdism is such a thing by Albert Camus. That each of us just lives life. And do you guys know absurdism?
Yes.
So what exactly?
Absurdism. Does anyone
Yeah.
know this very? Okay, perfect. So yeah, like all those things, because I guess we can find meaning in many areas of life. Um, how would you guys say that the some main consensus that we found?
Um, I think we pointed out kind of some events or experiences where we feel are meaningful, like love and creativity or stuff like that. And we all agreed on the fact that we don't need to define it since it's a very dynamic thing.
We also
Mhm.
mentioned knowledge and interaction with nature.
Yeah.
The kind of like the idea of the whole as being more important than not more important, but like the whole being everything being interconnected and kind of having this crazy interplay about us and the environment for creating meaning.
The whole is bigger than the sum of its parts. I think that's what they say, right?
Yeah.
Mhm.
And did we reach a consensus regarding experience, how we experience life, the role of experiencing life for meaning?
Mm, Well, you have to be present to experience, and you have to all these things that we talked about in love and knowledge. It is an experience. So I guess experience is kind of at the foundation of it.
Do you agree with that, Nicholas? Because I remember that you're kind of against this idea of the experience is very important for meaning.
I I disagreed uh, with the statement that it is the only
Yeah.
constituent of meaning, right? That there are other things as well, I think, and not necessarily so immaterial, right? So a lot of the times you do have actual goals that mean something to you and are expressed in reality. So that's the only thing I disagreed with.
And the goal of achieving those goals is to bring you what necessarily?
You decide. It's quite an individual thing. Sorry to say, there's no universal answer. You know, it depends on what you value in life. You know, but a lot of people value the same things. You know, I said it's individual, but some values are almost universal, right?
Agree. Is there any way that we can make try to make like a very very small either definition or like a one word thing for what is the meaning of the human
Of the human?
condition, like of us? What is the meaning of life?
I don't know.
Experience and fulfillment based on our discussion.
Yeah.
Kids, maybe kids.
It's
Love?
sure.
Kids, not necessarily. Also,
Yeah, not necessarily, but maybe for human race.
I mean, that could be fulfillment, no?
Hmm.
Because a lot of things are encompassed in fulfillment, right? So if we were to define it in one word, now one word, that's a Herculean task. Two words I can do: experience and fulfillment, maybe, right? So kids and stuff like that would
Fulfill
be
experience.
fulfillment, right? Both an
Fulfilled
experience
experience.
and yeah.
Mhm.
So the meaning of life according to this discussion is to reach a state, not state, just to live with in a mindset, in a live to have a fulfilled experience.
Uh,
Do we all kind of agree with that?
sure.
Mhm.
Would it be like either through loving or through learning or through experiencing present?
Yeah, through being the present or through leaving it to something bigger than yourself, like God, or learning, or whatever. Yeah, like you said.
So the meaning of life is to have meaningful experiences. What?
No, it's so funny because we have said like 30 times that we cannot define this stuff, but we always just try and attempt.
We tried.
Well,
What matters is that we tried.
what could you do today to have a meaningful experience?
I am already having it.
Sure, yeah.
So the meaning of life is to talk about the meaning of life. That's it. Oh wow.
To be uncertain about it and to try and grow and learn.
And to tackle that uncertainty,
Oh
right?
yeah.
Correct.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, the meaning of life is to
Tackle,
try
but
to
also
discover
accepted.
the meaning of life is try to explore and discover the meaning of life.
So exploration and learning.
Exploration and
Being
experiential fulfillment.
curious.
You know, and depending on who you are, you can narrow that down, right? Doesn't necessarily
Sure.
have to be, meaning. It can be other things, right? But then it becomes subjective.
Any final remarks? Does anyone have anything else they want to add?
This was fun.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was really fun. It was really
It
fun.
was really fun. Yeah, I thank you all for coming here, guys. It was awesome. Really, it was really, really fun.
Thank you.
We discovered, I think, something. I couldn't be able to say what, but it probably in our subconscious is doing the work right now.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah. Thanks for
The
being interested.
yeah, what?
Thanks for being interested.
Thanks for being interested. Yeah, of course.
Thank you for putting all of it together and setting it
Oh
up and
yeah,
everything.
no worries. Thank you guys for coming. Well, of course, this wouldn't have been possible without you guys coming here. Also, taking your time in a Sunday afternoon to do this, talk about the meaning of life, and to talk about something even though we knew that we're not gonna find an answer for it.
Mm-hmm.
That's
It's the
Sisyphus,
most
right?
fun thing, in my opinion.
yeah.
Yeah.
Sisyphus, right?
Sure.
Mhm.
It is Sisyphus. That's very absurdism type thing.
But I guess that's also why we chose to study psychology, because we try and have the courage to tackle these things that probably cannot be explained, and that are too complex.
Mhm.
There is
These
a
are
lot
main-
of fulfillment to be found in the trying to discover the unknown, right?
Yes.
Yes, definitely.
All right, guys. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Thank
And
you.
yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, yeah.
All right. See you guys around.